Chapter 8. The Truth Hurts. I want to tell you the truth. Time to tell you the truth. Cards off on the table. Get it off my chest. Open my mind and reveal all. The class bully, the class moron, the class idiot. His name was Sam. In case you haven't already guessed, I am Sam. I'm the one who's made Davy's life a misery. Chapter 9. Setting the scene. It was a strange day. Some sunshine, some rain, some clouds, some blue sky. A mixed bag. Roll up, dip your hand in and pull out. Any kind of weather. Chapter 10. Maps of Actions and Life. Fizzy Feet lived 2 doors down from the class bully, me. Our mums became great friends. They wanted their sons to be good friends too. Every morning Mum said, "Sam, why don't you go and knock for Dave?" "I don't want to walk to school with him," I sniffed. "Davy's a dork." "Go and be friendly," Mum insisted. So I'd knock for Davy with my mum watching, and once we'd turned the corner I'd make Davy pay. But one rainy morning I went too far. I was just mucking about. I didn't mean to hurt him, not seriously hurt him. But I pushed him and Davy snapped and pushed me back, and I tripped and I slipped and I fell backwards into the path of an oncoming car, and the car didn't have time to stop. I heard brakes screech and someone scream, and then a hand came out of nowhere and grabbed me and pulled me out of harm's way. Seconds came and went before I realised what had happened. Davy had saved my life. Davy had actually saved my life. The driver tooted a horn and shook an angry fist, but she didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. A man, a pedestrian, asked me, "Are you okay?" I didn't answer, couldn't answer. I couldn't hear a thing over the thundering of my heart. And then Davy smiled, just smiled, and turned to the man, the pedestrian, and said, "My friend is fine." And I felt so strange, 'cause we weren't friends, and Davy had saved my life. And all I could think was, why did he do it? And all I could feel was, I'm alive, thank God. And all I could hear was my heart stomping in my chest, and all I could see was Davy's smile. And in that moment I hated that smile almost as much as I hated Davy, because he'd saved my life, and then he made it worse. He said, "Your life belongs to me now," and he had a strange look on his face. "What do you mean?" I hissed at him, and Davy smiled his smile. "I have to take care of you, make sure no harm comes to you. I have to look after you. Your life belongs to me. I have to show you things. I have to teach you things. I have to be with you. Your life belongs to me." "Get real," I scoffed. "My life belongs to you?" "Yeah, right." But inside I was scared. Davy's smile did it. How I wished he'd stop smiling for just 5 minutes, 5 seconds. I stormed off. Anything to get away from him. But Davy ran after me. "Look at that," he pointed. "A blunt rainbow." "A what?" I looked up. I couldn't help it, and I saw something I'd never noticed before. The short, sharp burst of rain had turned to drizzle, drops shining like pearls through the sunlit air, and a muted rainbow danced in and out of the scattered grey-white clouds. A blunt rainbow. And it was like my eyes weren't my eyes, but Davy's, and it was like my mind wasn't my own, but Davy's, and it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. My head was full of words that I'd never used before. I could see things in the rain and the clouds and the sky that weren't there before, or maybe I'd just never noticed them before. I didn't like it at all. So I ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran to school, away from him. Chapter 11. Shadow. After that, Davy became my shadow. He followed me around like my shadow. In front of my friends he was still Fizzy Feet, but when it was just us two, he became Davy. Davy, who cracked such bad jokes that I couldn't help laughing, and he said, "Your smile is so big it's going to fall off your face." Davy, who said my mum's cooking tasted of sunshine and rainbows, and made a grin and strut like a peacock. "What a sweet boy that Davy is," said Mum. She admired his taste. Davy, who said Dad's homemade table was the best he'd ever seen, even though Mum said a silent prayer whenever she put anything on it. Heavier than a chocolate biscuit as a table, it was a dead loss. "What a smart boy that Davy is," said Dad. He admired Davy's sense. And when we were alone, when it was just Davy and me, he'd ask, "Do you know what stars are?" "Stars are holes in the floor of heaven." He'd ask, "Do you know what dreams are?" "Dreams are a way for us to live 2 lives." Huh? I frowned. My mouth turned down. What was he talking about? Did he even know? "I read about a man," said Davy, "who'd once dreamt that he was a butterfly." Butterfly, flutter by gently with the breeze, as it blows you with its ease, through the flowers, past the trees. So butterfly, flutter by, butterfly. Did you make that up? I asked, wondering how we'd got onto this subject. Yes, I did, smiled Davy. It shows, I replied sourly. Davy grinned at me. So anyway, this man once dreamt he was a butterfly, and he woke up and wondered if he was a man who dreamt he was a butterfly, or a butterfly who was now dreaming he was a man. Davy, where do you get this stuff from? You're making my head hurt, I groaned. I read it, see it, think it, hear it, taste it. Taste it? What's your favourite food? Davy asked. Roast lamb, the way my mum makes it, and rice and roast parsnips, the way my mum makes them. I licked my lips at the thought. And what does it taste like? Said Davy. I frowned. Roast lamb and rice taste like roast lamb and rice. Use your imagination, Davy urged. When you eat it, how does it make you feel? What does it remind you of? What thoughts enter your head as you eat? I considered. I think, what lovely roast lamb and rice. Doesn't it taste like starbeams on your tongue, or daydreams in your mouth, or wishes down your throat, or happiness in your stomach, or a headache in my brain? I grumbled. Davy was really making my head hurt. There's more than one way to look at something, said Davy, adding, I know you think I'm different, unique, special, individual. The word I'm thinking of is weird, I said. Davy grinned. Well, I'm glad. The worst thing in the world, no, the worst thing in the universe, would be to look and walk and talk and think like everyone else. I looked at Davy then, really looked at him, and I realised something strange. He meant every word, and even though talking to Davy sometimes did my head in, at least he had something to say, a way that was all his own. I guess what I'm trying to say is he wasn't the least bit boring. Alex and I talked about football and other sports, football results and films sometimes, football players and girls sometimes, football tactics and school sometimes, but mainly football, mostly football. Davy and I talked about the earth as a football, the stars as spectators, girls as aliens, teachers as robots or nutbags or demons, films to walk into, books to hold on to, music to live for, Eminem and Mozart, jobs to grow up for, dreams to stay young with. Davy and I talked about anything and everything. I tried to be careful, I really and truly did, but people started to notice that we were sometimes together, often together, always together. My best friend Alex said, You're spending a lot of time with Fizzy Feet. What's that about? I can't stand him. I panicked. So why would I hang around with him? He's a first-class, grade A, top of the dung-eat moron. And Alex started laughing at someone behind me. And I turned, and there was Davy, and he'd heard every word. He didn't say anything. He just walked away, and Alex was still laughing. And I looked at Alex, and I looked at Davy walking away, and at that moment I had to choose between the kind of boy I was and the kind of boy I wanted to be. I chose to stay with Alex. I watched Davy walk away, and I knew I was making the wrong choice, but my feet wouldn't move. I didn't want Alex and my mates to laugh at me as well, so I stayed with Alex and watched Davy walk away. And then I realised that Davy wasn't my shadow, it was the other way round.